Welcome. Today we're going to talk about something that a lot of people just write off as a soft skill. But what if I told you it's actually a core business strategy? Let's dive into this really cool idea of kindness as a measurable, powerful competence for any organization.
So, let's just get right to it. Is kindness at work just about being pleasant? Maybe bringing donuts on a Friday. Is it just some nice to have, some fluff that gets tossed aside the second a deadline gets real and the pressure is on? I think for a lot of people, the answer is yes, but it turns out that's a huge mistake.
Because here's the thing. Kindness isn't just a feeling, it's a foundational tool for building psychological safety. And that's that magic ingredient, right? The environment where people feel safe enough to take risks, to speak their minds, to admit they made a mistake, and to innovate without being terrified of punishment. That right there is the bedrock of any truly successful team.
Okay, so that sounds great in theory. But how do we make this big idea of kindness something concrete, something you can actually do? Well, it's built on three very clear pillars. Let's break this framework down and see how it really works.
It all starts internally, right inside our own heads, with the first pillar, kind thoughts. This is all about the leader's mindset, that internal story you tell yourself that shapes every single decision and interaction. It's kind of the invisible foundation for everything else.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting, how all these pieces connect. In business, kind thoughts is just another way of saying growth mindset, that core belief that people can learn and develop. And this links directly to what the science of happiness calls our mental energy. Instead of our brains getting stuck on a mistake, we train them to actively look for solutions and chances to learn.
And that really nails the practice, doesn't it? The biggest shift you can make is moving away from a culture of blame, where the first question is, whose fault is it, to a culture of feedback, where you see your teammates as allies in solving a problem together. That is a total game changer.
Okay, so once you get the internal thoughts right, let's look at how that shows up externally. And that brings us to pillar number 2, kind speech. Because the words we use, they aren't just words. They are literally the building blocks of our company culture, for better or for worse, every single day. So kind speech is really the engine for nonviolent communication. In terms of happiness science, this is what fuels our emotional energy. It's pretty amazing, actually. A simple, genuine thank you can trigger the release of oxytocin, that hormone that lowers stress and massively boosts trust and cooperation. It's basically applied neurochemistry.
So how do you actually do this? Look, it doesn't have to be complicated. You can implement simple gratitude rituals. For example, try starting your next team meeting by having everyone share one small win or thank a colleague for something. It literally takes 2 minutes and it can completely change the vibe in the room.
And that leads us to the final pillar, the one that really ties it all together. Kind intentions. This is the why. Why are we thinking these thoughts and saying these words? It's about making sure our actions are aligned with a genuine purpose that's aimed at the common good.
This pillar taps right into our spiritual energy, our sense of purpose and meaning. When people feel deep down that their leader's intentions are genuine and focused on the team's success, you get what the source material calls a positive chemistry. That's just another name for deep trust and loyalty.
And the practice here? Well, it might be the toughest but most important one of all. You have to walk the talk. Kindness can't just be a motivational poster in the hallway. People have to see it in the daily actions of their leaders. That consistency is what builds trust that you just can't break.
Okay, so we've got our 3 pillars. We know what to do, but, and this is a big but, knowing what to do and actually doing it, especially when you're stressed, are 2 totally different things. That's where the power source comes in.
And that power source is discipline. Now, I know that word can sound a little intense, but let's reframe it. Discipline isn't about punishment. It's the engine that takes a good idea and turns it into a reliable, consistent habit. It's what makes kindness work when it's hard, not just when it's easy.
I mean, this says it all, right? Without that dedicated practice, our best intentions, they're just going to falter the second things get stressful. Being kind when you're exhausted or frustrated or staring down a crisis, that doesn't just happen. It takes training. It takes discipline.
So that begs the question. If discipline is the engine that makes this all run, what's the fuel? Where does the energy to be consistently disciplined and kind actually come from? Well, the fuel comes from managing 4 key areas of our personal energy. You can think of these as your personal batteries. To power the engine of discipline, you've got to keep them charged. Let's just run through them real quick. Your physical energy. When you're exhausted, it's way harder to manage your impulses. Your emotional energy.
That's what allows for empathy and gentle communication. Your mental energy gives you the focus to stick with kind thoughts when the pressure's on, and your spiritual energy connects everything back to your purpose and values. They all have to work together.
Okay, so we've gone through this entire framework. The pillars, the discipline, the energy. What's the single most important thing you should take away from all this?
It's this. Kindness is not a soft, fuzzy feeling. It is a structured, trainable skill, just like learning to code or manage a budget. It's a competence that's powered by the engine of discipline and fueled by how you manage your own personal energy.
So I'll leave you with this final question to think about. In your own world, in your own team, what is one small, kind practice, a thought, a word, an intention that you can commit to making a real discipline, starting today?
This entire framework is based on the fantastic work done by Happywise. If you'd like to dive deeper into any of this, you should definitely reach out to them. Thanks so much for watching.